So very shortly, we will record this. We will upload it to the YouTube channel. So if you're interested, or if you want to see it again, then it will be uploaded to Contica's YouTube. And when it's done, we're gonna email you that it has been done. So no worries about that. As I said, this is episode number 2 in our webinar series. And as I said also, our mission is to make migration from BizTalk to Azure a little less scary. So our first webinar, episode 1, was Is BizTalk Really Dying? We had a long conversation, interesting conversation about that. That is on YouTube, but now we are on webinar number 2. And what we will cover today, you've already seen the agenda, so I will just run them through. We will run through how to choose an integration architecture that fits your scenario, not someone else's success story. Guidance on designing for Azure, not just recreating BizTalk patterns. And a simple checklist to sanity check your architecture decision before you build. All right, so that's what we're going to go through today. And here is our main people. I am definitely not the main people in this webinar, so I'm going to hand over to you very, very shortly, and you're going to stop hearing my voice. But just a small thing that we want to mention, since this is a webinar series, commenting on how you should go from BizTalk to Azure and what we believe is the right way to do it. And we have this migration strategy in 4 steps. We would love to present it even more thoroughly, but we will not do it today. But we will focus on the first step, as you see in the bottom here, where the assessment phase, which means that we need to have an inventory of the current BizTalk applications and a lot of things that you need to do before you actually start planning. So do the work first before you start planning and before you even start migrating. So that's our very big advice, or how to say it. And we want to give you one little migration tip when you are in this assessment phase, the first phase of migrating. And we call it migration tip number 7. During your BizTalk assessment, collect a full inventory of the current BizTalk setup and use the findings when creating the migration plan. And I want to hand over to you, Sandro, because the next slide is the matrix, you can say, on how you can do it and how you can do this matrix to actually help you in the planning phase. So if I show you this.
Yeah, so at the end, it doesn't necessarily have to be something like these, but this is a sample, okay? It can be less complex, more complex, add more columns, less columns, but at least if you get these kind of result where you have all your BizTalk applications, defining how it's critical for your business or not, okay? Because we need to know this. Is the application critical, business critical, or not business critical, okay? So orders, sailings, they are critical. They deal with money, okay? Human resource sync data is not that critical. It doesn't impact the business, but still important. Don't get me wrong, okay? You get these criteria. You know that in BizTalk there are complexity solutions and non-complex solution, okay? File transfer normally in BizTalk is quite simple. It's receive location, file location, send port, pass through, that's it. Now, if you start working with EDI, Rosetta Net, HL7s, and then crazy stuff, that's going to be critical, okay? That's going to be more complex to migrate solutions. And by that, by the business critical complexity, you know the risks that you are involved on those solutions. And then start prioritizing how that's going to be. It's priority to go for Azure. It's less priority. And then define the migration phases, okay? It doesn't mean that it's priority, that's going to be the first one to go, okay? Don't put something that is business critical and really complex as your first migration. Okay? Choose something more simple, because there are one thing that you need to be aware you are going to fail. Okay, that's for sure. Okay, it's a certain sure that I'm going to die at some point. That's the only certain that I have, is that we are going to die. Okay, when I hope years in front of us, but we are going to fail. Okay, we are going to learn from failures, and by choosing a small one, a simple one, we are going to test this, validate if our baseline, our foundations are ready, and if it's good, then we go ahead. But with this, we have a plan. Okay, we have something that we can rely on and focus on what we need to address. Okay.
Great.
I don't know what happened. If you want to add something more.
No, but you have
No,
been
that
saying
was
it all. We will
that
dive
was
into
great.
the other perspectives now, and maybe more technical stuff that the people are looking forward to see, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a small, if you want to have more migration tips, if you want us to help you dig into this migration plan, then just reach out either by emailing me or reach out to Ahmed or Sandro directly, and we can definitely help you with either migration tips or to have a workshop around the migration strategy. But as Ahmed said, now is the time to actually start what you all came for. So I'm going to mute and have camera off. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat or in the section for questions and answers, and I will try to dive in if I need to and interrupt if there's something that needs to be answered straight away. So I'm going to go to the background of this webinar and say, swing away.
Thank you, Robin. So yeah, now we start, Sandro.
Go ahead.
And, and what we were like, thank you all for showing up today, and hopefully we will give you something that you can use later, or maybe more likely change some mindsets or something that can be helpful in the future for you. So we start in the beginning with what is the migration project traps. And I like to call it traps because it's a trap. It's like you have a mindset, you have a goal, and you want to achieve it in a certain way. Usually when you start this, you have like a requirement from the organization that you want to fast delivery. It has to be fast. We need to do it and we'll be done with it. It has to work like before, and it has to be the highest possible quality, and it has to be also cost efficient. Those are the four things that's like, if you put all the requirements that you face when you are approaching this kind of projects, that's what you get, right, Sandro?
Yeah, when we migrate, yes, the business wants this. I want it fast. I want to move it fast from BizTalk to Azure. Work as is. Okay, it has to work. It doesn't need to fail. Okay, and so yeah, that means high quality. We want the best of the best, but we have cost efficiency.
Exactly, and
this may not work very well if you play around with all of this. No.
And what we usually end up with is like we want to move on those things as fast as possible, and we want to deliver, and we get the best, and we get stuck on a certain mindset. And here, yes, it's possible to achieve all of those four metrics in a migration project, but you need to let go of the lift and shift mindset. Here we don't mean lift and shift like the migration concept or the method. We meaning here that you also lifting and shifting your code, your infrastructure, your patterns. You are moving everything as is to the cloud, which is not most of the time the right way.
I will always tell you there is no magic button or pill that will allow you to do that. So they are different. The symbol that says everything. Azure is not the same as BizTalk. Okay. Yes, you can use a lot of things. Yeah, you can have the same method, same mentality sometimes, but they are different. Okay. So lift and shift as is. You have to understand what it is. Okay.
Yeah. You will end up with copying pasting patterns. That's like going to be hidden cost that you will be facing after the migration or even during the migration. And like we are focusing on the product. Yeah, we have Azure, then we move it. We have BizTalk, then we move it directly to Logic Apps. But we need something faster than just like add a function here or add a service. Like we will go through this later on, but like we need to try to find out how can we actually approach those challenges that you see now in a more structured way. And maybe we should start with how BizTalk actually architecture look like. And as you know, that BizTalk have been teaching us, Sandro, have been there since have been there is BizTalk, I guess. So
not, not since 2000, but since 2004. Still working 2002. That was a very different experience, but this we are used to this. Okay, you guys know, if you are familiar with BizTalk, this is the base runtime of BizTalk. Everything is pub/sub. Okay, so we have a receive port that is a container of receive location that will every receive location will have an adapter that picks the message or receives the message from anywhere. It can be a file, FTP, SMTP, web service, REST, everywhere. Okay, and we have a pipeline that will normalize the message that we are receiving into what is expected by BizTalk, that is normally an XML. Okay, because BizTalk works as an XML inside. Before we provide it to the bus, to the message box, to our pub/sub component, we can map this and we can transform that inbound message into the canonical message or any other type of message, okay? Which allow us to manipulate the message on the entering point, and then we publish to the pub/sub mechanism, that is the message box, and then it's going to be subscribed by an orchestration or another send port. And send port to the orchestration will do the business logic, the workflow, do whatever he has to do there and send it to anywhere. But when you say in the logic, in the orchestration, send it, it means it's going to the message box and going to subscribe by a send port that has the opposite. That is, we can apply a mapping and then go to a pipeline to transform that message into what is expected to the destination and send it. And that means on that send pipelines, we can transform from a XML to a JSON to a CSV. We can encrypt, sign, zip it, do whatever you want, okay? And send it, okay? This is the baseline. Of course, we are not speaking about infrastructure behind the scenes.
But it taught us the discipline of integration in that way. There is a fixed pattern, as you say. You have to deal with what you have there, as you say, as we see in the picture or in the architecture there. We are always centralized monitoring. We have an always SQL in the pattern or in our design somewhere. We have always to ensure that our designs and our integrations are fixed for this specific tool. It's a powerful tool, but it's closed one. It's
and this is the pattern. So everything is pub/sub. The pub/sub is our SQL database. The database has all the persistence tracking, everything like Ahmed say. So, and with this platform, we can do all the enterprise integration patterns that we want. Convoys, sequence convoys. I don't like those patterns, but it is possible. First in, first out, sequence, whatsoever. You can design everything, okay? What you need to run these is infrastructure, okay? Because behind these, there is BizTalk servers and SQL servers, and you need the hardware to allow processing all of these in the performance that you want, okay? But you can scale whatever you want, it's just hardware, okay? If it's not performant enough, you can add more boxes, isolate those processes in different processes, in different boxes, high availability, you can do whatever you want. It's a matter how many you want to pay, that's it, okay? It's hardware.
But it's also not that smooth to scale up because you will need to take down a lot of things to actually scale up again. It's server still, so
It's not
Just
auto
adding.
scaling down. You have to prepare your infrastructure to the peak that you want, okay? And you have to pay that for the peak, even if the maximum peak happens 1 hour per day, and 99% of the time you are with the small resources, you have to handle your environment for what you need, okay? So that's one of the biggest disadvantages of BizTalk is that, yeah, it's hardware.
And
You need
that's
to pay in
take
advance.
us to just the next step also was like, okay, so is equivalent exist in Azure and how does it work? Can we just follow the exact same patterns if we are using this? This picture there, as you see, it's quite known. You can find that in Microsoft documentation, which actually map each component in BizTalk and how to use it in Azure, but it's not one-to-one there. It's just giving you the idea of this recommendation of what you need to use. It doesn't tell you that you have to use this component, or it doesn't tell you how and how you should build it. You cannot just use it as is.
You can take a simple example, the first one, orchestrations, okay? If you want to map this directly to the Azure stuff, you say workflow, logic app workflows. Well, you can also do the functions, okay? Many times you use a function to do what an orchestration is doing, okay? So it's not one by one, okay? It's one by many, and how, when to use one and the other, that's a different story, okay? That will add more into the conversation than just simple saying that, oh yes, I have an orchestration, I'm going to do workflow. Oh, I'm having an enterprise application, I'm going to use a logic app and an integration account. Or if I'm going to the helper class, I'm going to use an Azure function. It depends a little bit on your requirements.
And you need to think about things in a different way. Yes, you need to capability and coverage for each of those components. How can we actually this complex flow? Can we break it down? How can we just like stop redesigning? We don't have to redesign everything, but we can maybe stitch some parts there and take them out, the complexity, and break them in a small part, because Azure is like how many components there? It's like 400 things that you can use, services. It's not Azure Integration Service. I actually don't know how much are they, but like overall, what you can use in Azure is 400 services.
Azure Integration are 6 at the moment, or 7 if you count the API Center. I don't know if API Center is part of the brand or not, but I think it was starting to be, but 6 at least is part of the Azure Integration Service. And also add to what Hamed says that even I hear this story since the day one of migration of BizTalk to Azure. Oh, we are going to migrate from BizTalk to Azure because we are innovating, modernizing our applications. Man, it's not just because you buy a new car that you are innovating. You are still taking the same role to your work. Okay, so it's a brand new car. It has a lot of new features, but you are still doing the same. Okay. So think about some of these BizTalk applications were made 20 years ago, still kind of migrate as is for the last 20 years without innovation, without changing, you know?
Yes, exactly. And also like what will take us to our next point is like also exactly what you're naming here is like doing the same things as 20 years ago and calling that best practice. I would
sometimes
like
you may innovate, okay? Think about, challenge the business saying that, can we do it something different? Okay, can we actually do something better?
And what I like my take on this kind of thing, because I really don't believe in best practice as a thing itself, because it depends on the situation. It depends on what do we need, our goal, all of these things. So what we will have to do is some trade-offs and like get rid of some functions to gain something. We have to lose something to gain something. So good architectures is focusing on trade-offs, not legacy best practices. So try to maybe not focus on what is the best practice for this. There's no best practice. It also depends on your scenario. We need to find what's your cost goal, what's your performance goal, what's the maintainability, how the SLA, what's the uptime, the downtime, what do you need, and what's the scalability needs for this specific scenario or this and that's where we find in our assessment in the beginning, as Sandro was mentioning, that we will go through those things. We have our ways to just try to highlight those things because we don't focus on everything. We just focus on the points that can help us take the right decision when we are redesigning things.
And if you saw the last slide, that it was a cost there. Okay, cost
Yeah.
is important nowadays. So if you were designing your solution for BizTalk, who cares about? So give me one developer of BizTalk that cares about cost. They doesn't. They already have everything there. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Cost is not an equation. Okay. Now, yes, I can develop my solution in any ways, but if I don't think in cost, then the client will be upset with me, okay? Because I'm going to premium all the way, okay? Because why? Because I have all functionalities that I want. And when the bill arrives, that's going to be not a good surprise for them, okay? So
yeah,
you need to think about this also.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, exactly as you're saying, you summoned this slide also there that it's like we need to find what's favor the native solutions. We need to, each service has to earn its place, and the architecture has to have kind of a balanced trade-offs. But I do understand that maybe some of the people here doesn't really maybe get what we mean by trade-offs. And we don't have much time to go through all of those things. So we would try to just hover on top of this in a more higher perspective. But it can look something like that. You have patterns, you have scenarios in your integrations, and you will gain a feature or you will gain something, and you need to understand that you're giving away something to add that, because Azure is built as services, many services are built to do certain things. They are not like BizTalk, a big machine that you can just put everything in it. So you need to consider what you're going to be giving away and what you're going to be gaining on each pattern, on each decision you're making while migrating a specific integration. So if we take one example here, let's take something of Sandro's best there. What do we have? If we've
been driven, service bus, direct calls, so you name it. So you can do, like, if you think about pub serving in Azure, you think about service bus. Okay, so why? It's decoupled, resilient service that is always running. But then you have this kind of, okay, then security arrives and say you have to go BNet installation, and then it says, okay, premium side, we don't afford that, we cannot afford that. So can we do it in a different way? Yes, you can do PubSub in different ways. Okay, you can do direct calls, and the large cap will kind of understand what are the routings. You give a trade-off. Okay, you be less expensive, you got the same functionalities. But again, it doesn't mean that is incorrect or correct. One is not better than the other. Okay, it will depend on your requirements and how you need, or your budget that you have. Okay, the thing is that it's good for knowing this. Okay, it's good to know what are the trade-offs, what are the options I have, and what I gain with that, and what is the cost associated with all of this. Okay, because
exactly.
Again, cost may not be an issue on the beginning, trust me. Okay, but when you start, and then when you start a lot,
it will build up
and get bigger, then that will chase you.
Yeah.
And then when it chases you, you are going to be in a difficult position because you have to redo a lot of things. And that also involves adding more cost to fix the cost. Okay? So try to avoid some kind of these traps and take these in considerations always. Okay? We are not here to say that this is best for you. You should always do this. No, it will depend on your requirements always. Okay?
And we, like, you can simplify this, those kind of tables and those kind of patterns. We just go every integration. You need to take every integration and just simply go through this list. What you're gonna do? How, which of those patterns suits best? What kind of components will I use? So we don't talk about the service now. We talk about how we're gonna actually what's our goal of this specific integration. And this can go pretty fast. Maybe in the first 2-3 integrations, it will take some time to just adjust the mindset to this kind of way of thinking, but you will gain a lot later.
You are building this is the assessment phase, and sometimes assessment and architecture phase, okay? So kind of that period. But if you do this homeschool in advance, okay, kind of the school gives you your work to do in house. So if you do this and you prepare that, when you go to the next class, you say that I'm prepared. Okay, give me the questions or the challenge, I will have the solution for you. Okay, these are the assessment phase. That's why it's all important to do this. Do a good analysis. Try to map these what we have in BizTalk, what is going to be in Azure, what are the options, what are the trade-offs, just because we are going to need these in the future. And that's, if you do this homework, then it's going to be faster the other steps.
And also, like, you need to understand, even though you have decided your trade-offs, you need to ensure that you understand why you have been making those trade-offs, what you sell and what you gain. And there is things that you need to watch for. You need to explain to the business and the organization. There will be some, as example, on the scaling, there will be some kind of cold start. There will be some kind of, let's say, what, as we mentioned, the noisy neighbors. We will talk about the other systems. We need to talk to them to see what actually can they give us and what we need to put some requirements on them as well. We cannot just do all the heavy lifting on the integration platform. We need to keep the integration as simple as possible, which is not an easy task. We need to find out how to break down things.
And one thing is like the cost, okay, and you see that cost, pay-per-use consumption, standard. I will tell you a common fight that we have these days as an architect, okay, is can we use consumption? Can you use, or we need to go for the logic app consumption, logic app standard? And most of the companies says no, we need VNet isolation, okay, because we need be private, secure. And I will personally tell you that VNet is a false sense of security. Okay, it is a good security. You are isolating. Okay, there is no public access. You have a good boundary there. Okay, but well, that's the same that we have these days or the old days inside the organizations, and they were attacked nevertheless. Okay, because if you enter the VNet, let's go, your security is gone. Okay, so that's another step. You can use consumption in many cases as a low budget integration and still keep very secure. Okay, and I do think that there are certain integrations that you don't need extreme security. Okay, they don't deal with critical data, private data, and so on and so forth. Batch process, they are good fit for consumption. They are cheaper, okay? Almost free. But comparing doing that same implementation with consumption to standard, that's going to be cost, okay?
Yeah, because it's going to be painful also to just break them down with all the workflows. So yeah. It's...
At some time, yes, the organization will say that is standard, it's BNet, but then we say, okay, let's put the cost in the networking side, in the security side. And we delegate that cost to the security, but when they chase you saying that this is expensive, I will tell you, yes, because you demand this, okay?
Yes, yeah, that's our kind of take on the trade-offs, and hopefully we will deliver this kind of message in this short time. We have some time left here, we can keep talking about maybe Azure architecture.
Yeah, we
and
can.
hopefully we will also do that. And please hope that you all took screenshots, and just reminding that this will be on YouTube, so it's also going to be there if you forgot to take some screenshots or reach
I
out
also
for us.
we have a small question in the chat, but so
Okay.
before we jump to
Yeah, but go ahead.
Azure architecture, we have a question about where is BAM in Azure?
Oh, do you want to take that, Ahmed?
Yeah.
I can take it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can. Let's go, and we're gonna be talking about the Azure. We have this slide actually in back there that shows what BAM. But do you really need BAM in Azure? That's another question. I was like, it depends. But we move to Azure architecture, and we will also address this question when we are talking about that. So yes, so Sandro.
Well, when we kind of sometimes we have to create what is going to be our framework of enterprise integration on Azure. Okay, and Ahmed mentioned the Azure Integration service will play the primary role. Okay, so when you think about what is going to be my framework, what will be my BizTalk equivalent on Azure, that these are the first main components that you see in blue, the ones that you think about this. So API management as our facade, entering points, API exposure, the logic app as workflow, low code, no code situations, which is good for runtimes, checking, monitoring, retry capabilities, persistence, and so on and so forth. We have the function app because we are always going to need function apps. The function app these days can be a function app, really a function app, or can be in-app functions inside logic apps. There are many tastes. There can be a standard consumption or running an app service or consumption wise. You will have it there. So API management, logic app function service bus, they are kind of the first ones to appear. Okay, I put that a factory there because you know that we always have that ETL process that we did in BizTalk. Okay, stop doing that. Don't do it in logic apps, nevertheless. Do that a factory for the ETL process for those, and we have some of them building in BizTalk for sure. Okay, and then as I think was Enrico mentioned about BAM, well, we have some flavors there. Okay, it depends.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah, exactly. It depends, and I want to what do you call it? Go back. I hope that I tried to change the presentation when we are talking now to cover that, but I think I not. So I will just I'll just go back to.
Go back to the other slides, okay?
Yeah, exactly. I will just go back to the other slide here.
Yeah.
Can you see that clear there?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. What we have there in BizTalk and BAM, what do we need BAM for? It's tracking and actually administrating the BizTalk applications or workflows. So what do we have there in Azure? If you moved some applications to logic apps, you have business tracking monitor or business process tracking, which is a new feature on it's generally available now on logic apps. It's an amazing feature. It's built in Azure if you prefer that, because if you prefer BAM, then I guess that you want the native alternative, which is business tracking monitor or B2B tracking monitor, which is function, I would say, exactly the same and way better because it's more user-friendly and more easy to use. If you prefer other third-party applications to use that, which work also great, you have Turbo 360 Business Tracking Monitor, or you have Nodinite, which is like great applications out there that you can also explore, and it will fulfill the exact same value as using BAM.
Or can you go back to the architecture side of the point? Before no, the before the old slide, the previous slide, yes. Or before all of this, you can also easily implement your BAM or tracking capabilities, okay? Because if you think, for example, API management natively use event hubs behind the scenes to inject logging, okay? You can use that capabilities. I did that before many years, 3-4 years ago with a client that everything that was our personal tracking. We can put promoted properties, we can put even the message if we want. We create kind of a contract. It was kind of a JSON contract that we put some metadata there, timestamps, origin, source, the payload if we want, everything. And we inject that in the event hub. We could inject from the API management, we could inject from the logic app, we could inject from the Azure function. And it's a decouple strategy, to be honest, because I do event hubs. Event hubs handles with millions of requests. We are not going to kill it very easy, okay, or impossible almost to kill it. And then behind the scenes, I have something. I think in that case we decide to create an app that fetch that and then insert it in the app insights and SQL databases, custom SQL databases.
Yeah. But the native ones make you don't need the SQL database.
Actually, no, you don't need it. You don't need it. I'm just saying that you can. And if it's SQL, I'm speaking with SQL, use SQL, okay? But you can use a custom Cosmo DB, you can use files, you name it. It's a decouple strategy, okay? You inject in event hubs. What is on front of the event hubs to log it? I do not care, okay? But I will never change the way I'm logging. I'm just logging and then the others will deal with it, okay?
Yes. Hopefully that will give you the answer. Who asked the question? I don't know. I cannot see the question now. I think it was
Enrico that asked the question.
Hope that Enrico got the answer. And if it was not clear, please reach out for us anytime. So yeah, let's the next slide.
So yeah, go ahead, Ahmed. It's if you want. We mentioned already. It's no. BizTalk is not a single tool in Azure. It's several services. I play sometimes with Ahmed saying that is a Lego. Okay, I love Legos. Okay, so this is the Lego piece. Depending on the requirements I want, I can build what I need. Okay, that's the beautiful of Azure.
Each component has a small thing, and it's designed to have. If you have the orchestration, you have a really powerful orchestrator, which is Logic App, which is visualization and all this. If you prefer code, you have durable functions. Also, that can perform orchestration, but I would prefer Logic Apps for other reasons. But we can take that in another discussion.
Yeah. Maybe next in the webinar next week.
Yeah, exactly. So we have the function apps. So like as Sandra was saying, Azure is a Lego, and they have been saying also that BizTalk is like a Swiss knife. It's a closed one that has many things that you can use. A Swiss knife, it can have a screwdriver, it can have a knife, and all of this. But like you cannot build a Swiss knife with a Lego. It will not work. That it will look like a Swiss knife, but it will not perform like a Swiss knife. So yeah, it's different, and
so I have here some samples. Don't get me wrong, don't think that I'm just providing a solution out of the box, not out of the box, but thinking a little bit out of the box. Okay, so for example, it's common to have file transfer routing inside BizTalk. And this is actually a real scenario that I did implement many years ago in the client. So we add a file, we have a receive port, and then we are routing to several clients, okay? So you see the file name as a prefix, then a middle value separated by minus, okay? The first one is the source, the second one is the destination, and the third one is the file name. Okay, I had to get this, split it, check what is the destination, and then based on routing rules, put in on the send it to the destination system, and then I should maybe apply a map. Some of these cases was XML, other was flat files, depending on the partner. Okay. My solution was simple. In BizTalk, I had the receive location, I had the business rules doing promoting properties, send it to the message box, and then routing to the send ports with a map easily. I did that in 10 minutes, 50 minutes, okay? Now, in Azure, yes, okay, the first thing that if I want to do is, okay, I'm going to use service bus to routing and so on and so forth, okay? But I didn't I intentionally put a different solution, okay? So we don't have receive ports, we don't have receive locations. And bear with me that I put here one receive location, I have 4, 5, or 6, okay? So what I did was I create a logic app that acts as my receive port, receive pipeline, and property promotion. So what I did there on the first logic app that you see on the left is I was getting the file. I was getting the file name, check what's the split in that name, and then creating all my variables that promote those. Okay. And because I didn't want to use, I was a low cost budget. I didn't want to spend too much money. I even put there the integration account, which is a nonsense because integration account for schemas is a little bit cost. Okay, I changed that to be a storage account. Okay, but I left there the integration account just for you to see that consumption as is. Okay, but I can replace that with the storage account easily. And what I say is that based on the put the key vault there because he has some URLs with private secrets. Based on the name of the source, I was getting the URL and calling and routing to different logic apps using the HTTP adapter to send to different partners. Okay, so different way to do kind of observe without service bus. Okay.
Yeah, and as you see here, there is no service bus, there is no message box in that sense. So it was less lightweight
Yes, it
integration, if you
was a
want.
lightweight without, and again, just to be even lightweight, I had to replace that integration account because it's mostly 1,000 euros per month. Just replace with a storage account and an Azure function in a consumption way to get that and do flat file schemas and mappings. Okay, so which is fairly easy to do. Okay.
I just want to say that we have like 2 minutes left
Yeah.
on our time here,
Yeah.
and we have some slides here, but we can maybe just go
I,
through
I'm.
it, just some
Yeah.
examples.
This one is quite simple, but bear with me just for you to understand that dynamic ports is a good concept in BizTalk. There is those dynamic connectors in Logic App, with the exception maybe with the HTTP. We can do it, but we can do it in different ways, okay? So yeah, let's go for this. So one of these, and this is a good scenario, is like file transfers also, but file transfer message, you name it, okay? We have a limit of 1 megabyte in service bus, okay? And you can say, okay, no, service bus premium go to 100 megabytes with a different protocol, MQ protocol, because the logic app is going to use that connector, is going to use HTTP, so it's 1 megabyte, okay? And again, you have to go premium, okay? So instead of sending the message to the service bus, because for example, an IDOC can go easily above 1 megabyte. Okay, SAP message can go easily more than 1 megabyte. Instead of, I want to keep it as a low cost. Even man, I want to keep as a standard. Okay, not going to premium.
But there is a trick for having a larger also.
Yeah. So instead of me putting the file on the service bus, I can use a storage account to put the file and put the pointer in the service bus to that storage account file and put the metadata on the service bus, so for routing, okay? And then when the consumer gets that, it says, okay, I get this message, I have to pull this message from the storage account. And again, it's just permission. As long as you have permission to do that, you have a low cost with a good, extremely good performance, and you are able to do more than 1 megabyte file size in service bus.
I want to say why I vouch for like this kind of way of thinking, because as you see here, we eliminated the cost of the SQL. You don't need this heavy SQL server that will be your message box and do that. So we eliminated the big cost and performed the exact same thing. But it's just a different, slightly different way.
And with advantage also.
Yes.
If you need, and because you always have that kind of scenario, say, oh, the file has an error, can you fix that? If it's inside service bus, no. But with the storage account, yeah, okay, I can go there, change that.
Done. Yeah, exactly. Done. For resubmitting and like repairing files.
And again, Canonical. Canonical, this is something quite simple also. Again, in BizTalk, we have the receive location and the map inside the receive location, receive port that transform to a canonic, and then we have an orchestration that process all of this, okay? We don't have receive ports, receive locations, okay? So we can put a logic app acting as a receive port, receive location pipeline, okay? We standardize the message that we are receiving for that partner and put it in the canonical and send to the service bus, okay? And then behind the scenes, we can have a logic app processing those, that is the canonical message. So again, we need to think a little bit different because we don't have all the components or artifacts that BizTalk has in the same way that the Azure integration has, okay?
Yes. Thank you. This was the last technical slide, but I just saw a question here that we didn't answer from Ramona. I will be answering that. It's what is the real-time processing in logic apps compared to BizTalk? So the message received, transformed, and sent within seconds or two. Yes, based on the complexity and size of considering. So you are, if I understand your question now, you're talking about that BizTalk is faster than logic apps. Yeah, true. But why? What kind of? If it's a big message or a small message, what kind? You need to think about the context exactly as you answering here. And if you are actually considering speed as a performance here, then maybe you should do that in a function. If it's need to be fast, or you can just break down the whole integration into functions. It will take seconds. Logic app doesn't usually take time if you didn't add complexity in it. So that depends.
And again, just bear that in some cases it's well, BizTalk is a DLL, it's compiled and then everything is compiled and running that, okay? Logic app standard is a little bit faster than consumption. And then in logic app standard, you also have stateful, stateless, okay? So if you get the stateless, it's going to be you actually can get some milliseconds response. If it's a stateful, normally seconds response time, okay, not milliseconds. But I don't think that many cases, in many situations, we really need milliseconds response time. We need fast and
if you need this real-time events, you can, there is another services to do that. So that will be our last slide, and we just want to give that if anyone have more questions, please send them so we can answer them if we can. And with this, like we wrap up what we were talking about is like you need to have, as an architect, you need to have a sanity check for yourself. What you are using, and there is 9 simple questions here in front of you. If you can actually answer yes to 7 of them, then you can go ahead and do the design. If you answer no to less than 7, to more than 3 of them, then you should reconsider your design and how it will impact the whole project, because a small, simple standard that you can implement somewhere can affect a lot of things. because as Sandro was saying, it's like a Lego. So you are the one who actually should be very careful about what base are you putting to build a strong structure.
Yeah, but the main message that we want to give a little bit with this webinar is that even that we already mentioned some kind of strategies migrations, this is just kind of to have a sense that how you map certain service to the others. But the thing is that you need to do this assessment phase very good, okay? Knowing what you have, knowing where you're going to be, okay? This is really important for the success that you want to achieve, okay? So you don't skip that phase.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's was all of what we wanted to say, and hopefully we succeeded to deliver this message, and maybe
I think we have
opening.
another question there,
Yeah.
okay? In
Yes.
integration account agreements, some message names like Codeco and Cuscar are available, but what if we have a different one that is not listed? UN 1.2.1, for example, I'm processing Verma's ADI message, but it's not available. How can I create an agreement for that ADI message unable to? Oh, yeah, good questions.
Yeah.
I don't think that we have the proper response for you. Okay? If it's not out of the box, the first thing that I will kind of try to do is reach or open a support case and reach the Microsoft guys for them to see if they are trying to deal with it or not.
Mm.
Otherwise, I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, a custom solution it should be kind of the trick, but luckily for
I
me,
think
yet
yeah.
I didn't play too much with ADI stuff in in the integration
But we
account.
can. But it's interesting actually. We just would like to have more context because I assume that you want to have some
Yeah.
solution, but maybe we can have that later. I don't think we can have it
I
now.
just wrote in the chat that we can do an answer by mail, or even better by a blog post. So
Yeah.
thank you for the challenge. And if we get the answer, it will be a blog post. We will keep you notified, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we end up where we started, or more or less. So thank you so much, Ahmed and Sandro, for this great webinar, and always very informative and great advice. So, and especially to everyone listening in, thank you so much for being here. We will post this on YouTube as soon as possible. If you have any questions, please reach out. If you want migration tips or talk about migration strategy, reach out to any of us, and we will definitely help you out. So
Yes, please
yeah.
reach out.
Thank you so much from my side,
guys, bye.
Ahmed, Sandro.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Have a nice day or